Hi, this is Dr. Derek, and I was at the seminar a couple of weeks ago, and I was listening to the keynote speaker, and I've seen this guy before. He's a really gifted speaker, but at this particular seminar, I could just tell that he wasn't quite the same. His energy levels were lower. It just seems like he was struggling up there more than normal in regards to his thought process, and so after he spoke, I just approached him, and I saw that he had a problem and I had a solution. So I just offered to help him. He shares his story at the end of this video. In this video that I created for you, it kind of ties in with his story, and that is if you have stresses that are stuck in your body, if you don't pull them out, you're not going to function at your best. And so hopefully you'll gain some tips that will help you to function at your best. Enjoy the video.
Derek, and today I'd like to talk to you about optimal brain health. Your brain is the most important organ in the body. It's so important, it's totally encased by bone, your skull. And so if your brain is functioning at 100%, your health will function at 100%. So what prevents the brain from functioning at 100%? The number one thing is stress. Now, stress is pretty common, and we're all exposed to it. We all struggle with this. But one of the stresses that will put pressure on the brain is a physical stress. One of them primarily just being the cranial bones misaligning. These bones will misalign and actually put pressure on the brain. When there's pressure on the brain, you just can't quite think as clear. You will have brain fog. You won't be able to make decisions quite as well. You might even go into a little bit of depression. It can even affect your hormones. It can affect a whole myriad of health problems and cause you to have low energy, and the list goes on and on. Why? Because the brain controls everything in the body. So cranial misalignments will put pressure on that brain. Now, what causes the cranial misalignments? Well, you can have physical trauma, something obvious, hitting your head. And my kids are constantly falling down, hitting their heads. I'm constantly having to work on them to make some adjustments as their cranial bones misalign. The other thing is just emotional stress. Actually, emotional stress, there are stresses that you and I are dealing with on a regular basis that if we don't process and deal with it, it will actually cause these bones to misalign and cause you to have health issues. And so it's so important that you take time to process these emotions and stresses that you're dealing with. And a third thing that will cause these problems is chemical stress. Foods that we're eating. As we're heading into the holidays, people are eating more junk, and they're eating things that are laced with sugar and gluten and casein, and they're just eating things that they normally don't. And stress will often cause you to eat these kind of bad foods, and that also will put a stress on the body. So over the next 45 days or so, I highly encourage you to be aware of these things and to take measures to decrease these stresses and to work extra hard to not let these cranial misalignments put pressure on the brain and affect your body in a negative way. So here's a couple things that you can do. Well, I have my tennis ball here with me. One of the things that you can do with this is to help take the stress off of the brain here. I like to go right to the suboccipitals. There's so many proprioceptors and nerve endings here that control so many parts of your body and the way that you feel. And just getting the tennis ball daily over the next 45 days and just kind of letting it dig in here is a great thing to do. It just takes like 3 minutes where you're just laying on your back or against the wall and letting it dig into the back here of these suboccipitals, taking the tension and the stress off of these muscles. Another thing that you can do is just deep breathing. Here's a cool exercise that you can do. Just deep breathing. Put your hands right over here at the temples and do a circular clockwise motion when you're deep breathing. Breathe in and breathe out, and just kind of let the hands melt here onto the skull, and just kind of do that just for a minute. All it takes is a minute. Do that for a minute with some deep breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. 2 seconds in, 4 seconds out while you're doing this, and it's amazing how much lighter you'll feel. It just takes pressure off of this area. And so if you're not inclined to do that, you can also just make sure you reduce exercising. Do exercises during this time, like go for walks, 20 minutes, 3 times a week. It's not much, just make it a point, force yourself to exercise. And number 3, when you go to these Thanksgiving parties or Christmas parties, just make sure that you go not on an empty stomach, but go with some healthy food, like have a big salad before, so you're not tempted to delve into the junk food. The healthier you eat during this time, the less you're going to want to crave the junk food. So I hope this video has been helpful, giving you some tips to help decrease the stresses over the next 45 days, and I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. This is Dr. Derek signing off.
Hey, my name is Russell Brunson, and I had a chance, recently I was actually speaking at an event, came off and was tired and sore and just kind of, all those things that happen when you're on stage and traveling and everything. Had a chance to meet Dr. Taylor, and he kind of pulled me aside and said, hey, would you like me to do an adjustment for you? And I was assuming it was going to be a quick chiropractic adjustment, and I went through a process that I'd never been through before. At first I was kind of like, what is this? It's kind of different, but it was really interesting, and he was able to know things about what was happening internally that I wouldn't have guessed, even so much as like not guessing, but knowing like the year that something happened and how it affected me and helping me to release that. And then from there releasing, doing the actual adjustment on top. And it was just really interesting and intriguing. And I should be super tired right now. I should have no energy, but I feel amazing. My brain feels clear, and like everything, I don't know, it was definitely a different experience and something that I wish I could have every day. It was amazing. I loved it. And I'm going to figure out how to get him to travel with me everywhere I go so I can experience this every day. It's been amazing.